In this video, I wanted to show you how to send emails to your users using React. And so why I'm making this is because I had to create a web developer roadmap and I wanted people to input their email in order to get access to that roadmap. So rather than paying for a service like MailChimp or ConvertKit, which is like $30, $40 a month, I just decided to create it on my own. And the basic premise of it is that the user just puts in their email. So let's just do that. And once they hit submit, they can just go to their email. And once we refresh, we can see over here that we have an email from, well, myself. And so how we will be doing this is in 4 main steps, okay? So the first thing we'll be doing is grabbing the user's input through the UI. So we have to create a UI to grab the input. And the next thing we'll be doing is getting that input, so their email, and then using the resend API on that email. And then once we have that, we'll send the user an email using React Email, which is a email setup for coders. And then finally, we will be storing the user's email in the resend database. And if this sounds a bit scary, don't worry, it's really easy. So we'll walk through everything. And by the way, this is what the end product will look like. Although this may look better, it does take up a lot of time, and you're probably watching this because you want the actual functionalities rather than the design. But regardless, I will leave the code to this exact design and functionalities in the GitHub repository, but we will be working on this where we're just going to work on the functionalities and sending emails to the user. And also we'll be using Next.js, which is a React framework, but don't worry, if you're using React, it's basically the same thing. And to get started, we need to firstly install Next.js. And to do that, all we need to do is write npx create next app at latest. And then we will be given some parameters to write in. So what is our project name? Let's just call it email. TypeScript, yes, 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 no, yes, no, and then just wait for that to load. And while we're still in the terminal, let's just install everything so we don't have to worry about it later. So let's just go into the email folder. And within here, let's install firstly resend. And also while we're here, we need to install React Email. So npx create email at latest. And so once we're here, we need to go into React Email Starter. And as you can see here, we have an emails package. And this is basically for the emails that we will be sending. This is how we will create the email template to send to the users. And so once we have this, all we need to do now is go into React Email Starter. And in there, install React Email at React Email /components -e. And with that, we can just run our application. And so first things first, let's just go into our app directory, into our page. And I'm actually going to put you over here just so we make our lives a bit easier. And in here, let's just clear out everything. So let's just delete this. Let's create a div. And let's just keep it blank for now. Actually, we don't really need this. And then once we have that, let's just create a new folder called components at the root of our application. And within components, let's create our first file called email.tsx. Let's set it to use client and our main imports for this main page. And basically everything here will be for the UI inputs and grabbing the user's email. So let's firstly import use state from React. And also we need use transition. And then we can do export default function email with the brackets and then return div, just like that. And then let's go back into our page.tsx and then just call the email in here so we can see everything in real time. Just like that. We're calling it from @/components/email. And as you can see on the screen over here, if I just move my face, we can see the email that we wrote. And so let's just set a couple of things. So firstly, let's just write flex min height screen, flex col items center, justify center, and py of 1. And actually we can just delete this so we can just get this over with. We can do main, and within the main we can just write an h1 saying like web dev roadmap or whatever. So let's do web developer roadmap, just like that. And let's just add a text of 7XL, whatever. And then underneath that, let's write a p tag. And then here we'll write this roadmap will be sent to the email you put below. Let's just add a nice text center to that. And a margin top of 3. Great job. Now it's time to create the input. Let's just create a div with a form tag inside of that. Let's then create a label with email as the text. And then let's just write HTML for email and a class name of SR only. And then once we have that, let's create the input that we need. So let's just make that. And we'll actually have to come back to this later, but let's just have a name of email. Oops, email. An ID of email. A type of email. Required, if I could spell. And then a placeholder of email address. And a class name of width full, rounded, large, border, px of 3, py of 2, text medium, and text hashtag 1e, 1e, 1e. Actually, let's just design this real quick. Let's just add a border like that, and a padding top, actually a margin top of 2, and let's round that border up. And a padding of, let's say, 4, space everything out. I don't think that looks too bad. And then the final aspect of our UI then will be the actual button. So let's just create that. So a button, and then get roadmap for us. And we'll have to come back to the button and the input to track the email that the user puts in, as well as an onSubmit function. So let's just create that right now. And so all we need to do first is have our use states. So let's do const loading is equal to use state of false, as well as a const is pending, comma, start transition equal to just use transition, just like that. And finally, we need the const email set email is equal to use state, just like that. And so these two will just manage the loading state of the email. Like once the user puts in their email, we don't want them to have to re-put it in, so we don't get an overload in our resend app. Like we don't want multiple emails all at once. So that's what we're doing in these two. And then here we're just tracking the value of the user's email. And then once we're here, we need to create the handle submit. So const handle submit equals to asynchronous event. I'm just going to write any for the sake of this, and then open that up. And within here, we need to prevent a refresh. So let's just do that. Prevent default, just like that. We need to set loading to true when the user submits it, right? So let's just do that. This will be is loading. Actually, we need to change this better for us. So set loading. And then we need to grab the value of the email, right? So let's do const email equals to event dot target dot email dot value. So we're grabbing the value of the email that the user will put in. And so if we go back into our input, we can just write the value of email. And we're basically just tracking the value of the email here, just so we know what the user is putting in, and then we can take that data and put in the backend. And while we're still here, we can actually just have the onSubmit in here. So let's just write onChange is equal to e set email e.target.value. And actually here, one more thing with the button, let's just write a type of submit so that the program knows that this will be a submit function. And actually, let's just design it real quick. So we have a cool looking button here, BG white, text black or whatever, I don't know. And let's just do like a margin top of like 3 and a width of full. There we go, looks a lot better. And okay, so right now what we have is just the UI and a way to track the email of the user, right? That's all we have. What we need to do next is run a try catch block in our handle submit so that we can send that user's email to the resend API. And so to do that, let's just write try. And within here, we're gonna get the response equals to await fetch / API / mail, comma, curly braces, method of a post request, and the headers will be the content type of application slash JSON, comma, and comma over here. And then we need the body of JSON dot stringify email. Then we can just write a comma like that. And once we have that, let's just go outside of these two brackets, and we need to grab the data. So data equals to await res.json. And then here we need to write if data. And then if we have the data, we can just write set email to nothing. So basically when the user puts in the input and submits the button, then we want to reset the input. And then else console.error data. And since this is a try catch block, we actually need to write the catch as well. And in here, let's just write error. And let's just do the same thing. Console.error, error. So basically all we're doing here is we're getting the value of the email from the input, and we're just sending it to the API/mail, which we will create in a bit. And all we need to do now is just go into our form, and in here, we need to write on submit handle submit. Just like that. Great job so far. We've done the front end and the handling of the user's input. Now we need to go to the /API/mail and create the resend functionalities. And to do that, all we need to do is go into our app folder, create an API folder, and within the API folder, we need to create a folder called mail. And in the mail folder, we just create something called route.ts. And in here, we need to have a couple of imports. So firstly, we need to import render from @react email /render, as well as import resend from, resend. Let's just fix that. And then here we need to write new resend, resend, just like that. It's actually the regular brackets, process.env.resend_API_key. And to grab the resend API key, all you need to do is just go to resend.com, and you need to go to API keys and then just create an API key. And so I'm just going to create one with you just so you know how to do it. So let's just call this Nazar email 101 or whatever, 10. Copy this API key, go into the root of the email folder, and in here, create a .environment variable. And in here, write resend_API_key, and just put it there. And make sure that this is the exact same as this, or else it will not work. So just letting you know. And so since this is a post function, we actually need to write export async function post with a request of request and a response of response, and then curly brackets. And in here we need to grab the email that the user sent, right? Equals to await request.json. And then down here we need to write const data error, space that out nicely, equals to await resend.emails.send. Open that up from, and this is really important. Since we are in the local environment, we have to write a very specific type of email. And this is basically what we'll be writing to the user's email, right? So our email has to be from, I believe this could be anything. So I'm just going to write Acme because that's in the documentation from Resend, but from Acme, and then onboarding at resend.dev, and then close that up. This has to be the email because Resend doesn't want you abusing the email on your main application, and they're only going to be able to test this in the local environment by using this. Let's write a comma like that, and then to the user's email, right? So to email like this, comma, subject, could be whatever you want, web dev roadmap, whatever. And finally, we need the HTML. And here's where we're going to display the email that we will be creating with React email. But for now, let's just write whatever. Just this for now as a way to just track whatever we're doing. And then to handle some of the errors, let's just write if there is an error. Open that up. Return response.json error. And finally, let's just write a return response.json and a success message. So message, email sent successfully. And so I believe right now, if we send an email, so let's just go back into our email because it's all white. So let's go into the input and let's just write, it has to be text dash. There we go. So if we just put in our email, and by the way, it has to be your email if you want to test this. So @gmail.com. And if we send that, it should be working. I'm not sure if it will, but let's go into our Gmail account. And there we go. So it's working thus far, but we will be using a much better React email to actually be working. But as you can see here is the roadmap you requested. And if we go into the route.ts, you can see that the email right here is the roadmap you requested with web dev roadmap above right here. And we basically have a basic template, but we want the email to be pretty good, right? And so what you want to do is just go to React email. And in here, we can look at these couple of examples that they have for your code. So we have something like a Nike receipt, a Twitch receipt, whatever. We can basically do whatever we want. So let's just pick a random one and we can just do it. So let's just do this Vercel one just for the sake of it. And I'm actually going to put you over here for a quick second. And as you can see, there's actually a bunch, but I want this one, okay? So all you want to do is go up here, press the code button over here, and just copy it like this. And in your email folder, okay, you need to create a new folder called email. I know this is not good because they're the same thing, but let's just call it emails just for the sake of it. And in emails, let's create something called index.tsx. And in here, let's just paste the thing we copied. And let's just see what it's... Okay, so we have a couple of things we need to fix. So let's just see what's going on. So quick fix with Copilot. So it's telling us to install React email with Tailwind. So let's just copy that. Go into the terminal. Let's create a new thing, cd email, npm install @react email /tailwind. And we also need to install React components, I guess. So let's just see that as well. So actually, let's just do npm install React. Actually, let's just look at the React documentation. Let's go over here. Let's go to documentation. Let's go to automatic setup and actually manual setup. I honestly thought we got it, but we maybe haven't. So I guess it's just npm install just like this. Let's just write npm install React email @react email -e /components. My bad. And if we close that back up, I think everything should be working. So let's just see. Perfect. So no more errors, okay? And so in this code, we have everything we need to design the piece of code. And so we can basically just customize this as we see fit. So we can see we have like HTML, image, links, so we can do whatever we want. I'm not going to touch it. You can design it on your own. You can just easily look at how to do that. It's very easy. The documentation is like really good. But all we need to do now is just call this in our code. So let's import this in our route.ts. So import Vercel invite email from @/emails. And within your Vercel invites user email, you will just delete the HTML4 and just write that with brackets like this. And I see we have a small mistake. We need to wrap this like this and then render like this. Render, just like that. Wonder why it's not working. It's saying argument. Let's see what's up. Not argument matching this biting pattern is not. Let's see what's going on. So. Oh, we have a bunch of things. Okay, hold on. So this one has a lot of interface that we have to put in, and I don't really want to deal with that. So let's just grab another one for the sake of it. So let's go to examples. Let's grab an easy one. Magic links maybe. Let's do like Notion magic link code. Let's see if they have a bunch of login code. We can deal with this. So just copy whatever and just make sure you're putting in the interface, your finishing interface if there is one. But I'm just going to remove it because I don't want to deal with this right now. Do that. Remove that. And then in here, ignore that. Just like that. And then we have this over here. I guess with that, we can go back in here and the route.ts. And as you can see, it's working. So if we go back into our front end, we can just write our email. And by the way, this has to be the email you registered your resend with. So if we go back to resend.com, it has your account here, like the account you made this with, has to be the one that you write in your code, right? So like, sorry, in the front end over here. So I am using this exact email. So let's do that. Run that. And if we go to our email once again, we can see that we have the template. And one more thing, I said that we will be storing this in Resend. So if we just head over to resend.com, and as you can see here, the email has been stored. Great job. And I just wanted to talk about one more thing, and it is how to put in your own email here. All you need to do essentially is go to your domains in here, and when you are launching your product or you're like publishing it out to the public, you'll have to add the domain here with all the DNS servers and all that fun stuff. And then all you would have to do is maybe something like this. So you have your domain at the end and then no reply as the first part of it. And this can just be my name here. But basically, once you register the domain with Resend, you can change everything in here. And yeah, that's all really to it. It's really easy. I've been loving it. Like it's beautiful. And by the way, I'll leave the exact code look. So if you want to copy like the background, the whatever, then I will leave that the GitHub repository down below. It's absolutely free. And yeah, if you have any issues and you're stuck with anything, then I will also leave the Discord channel down below for any questions or if you're stuck with anything. But yeah, I hope you found value in this. Again, very simple. All we have to do is grab the email, post that into the API, and then store that in Resend. So I hope you found value in this. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like and subscribe. I love you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.